Hello everyone, NLD here, and welcome to Spider-Man No Way Home review. This will be a two-parter. One part will be the general, I'm not gonna talk details, it's not like a spoiler-free spoiler part. Yeah, most are gonna be spoilers. Now I'm gonna talk about the movie, and after that I'm gonna talk more detailed about specific characters and plot points and stuff I thought. And I'm gonna do some rankings. I'm gonna do same with Hawkeye. I'm gonna do an overall review of Hawkeye as well, because I said that already, in an earlier Hawkeye review episode. Never mind. Let's just go. So, first of all, I want to say, this movie, while it's not the best thing that's happened, and it's not too clever, or it's not amazing in a plot or writing term, it's freaking brilliant. It's a brilliant movie. The thought, especially for someone who wasn't expecting, not me, I was expecting the Spider-Man to appear, for example, and, most of those stuff to happen. But for a person who didn't, watch earlier movies, or wasn't, just understood the concept, he would think, wow, that's really genius of them to do something like that. For example, I have a friend who hasn't watched any of the earlier movies, and he was really impressed. He was like, wow, that's such a smart, it's genius of them to bring all the old Spider-Man back. Now, for me, it was more expected than genius. But then this movie was still just an epic experience in the theaters. The theater I went to, I probably wasn't all Marvel fans, but when Andrew and Tobey came, you couldn't hear the dialogue. Everybody was clapping, screaming. It was really huge. There was a few more times everybody clapped. Obviously, this amazing, the shot I think was more worthy of clapping. The shot I was going nuts was shot in the final battle after they talk about the Avengers, after they're out of sync, and they're like, and then Tom's like, I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers. The Avengers? That's awesome. What is that? So that after that, they all put their masks on, amazing, and they all ran together. And the shot was really good because moving and with them, and you could see each of them running. They weren't exactly the same, which is awesome. The way they ran, where they were exactly, but it was amazing. It was an eyesight. It was probably gonna be one of the biggest things to happen in cinema history, not forever, but for a long time. I mean, Spider-Man, Tobey's first movie came out 20 years ago. Andrew's first movie debuted 10 years ago. Tobey's final movie, 15, I think. Yeah, 15 years ago. Andrew's final movie was 7 years ago, which isn't that much, but it's still, 8 years ago, which is still so much. So I think it's so incredible what they managed to do with this movie. I'm just right now, I'm not even looking at my record, I'm just looking at the wall in front of me. I'm just thinking about it. This movie brought us so much emotion. And by the way, the last time I watched all those movies were 2 years ago. Maybe even 3 years ago. I didn't remember too much. I also don't remember, I know people say Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 are really good, they're brilliant. I don't remember feeling that way when I first watched it. I was much younger. I was younger, for sure. Actually, it was probably 4 years ago. Yeah, I was much younger. I only watch it, I just finished catching up to the MCU, and I watched it because I just wanted to watch all Marvel properties. Then I watched the X-Men, all those. I didn't watch all Marvel properties, all the little ones, the Blade trilogy. I didn't watch the 2 Punisher movies that came out a while ago, a long time ago. I didn't watch the Ghost Rider movies. I didn't watch Elektra or the Daredevil movies, which were supposed to be bad, so at least like, which is so, it's like fine by me. That's why I'm not watching them now. Yeah, so I watched them out of wanting to catch up on Marvel. I don't remember being too impressed. I don't remember being too fascinated. I remember much more connecting to Tom Holland because he was the first my Spider-Man. What was I saying? Right. So he was like my Spider-Man, but now, no, I didn't remember wow, Green Goblin, like Willem Dafoe is incredible. It's so good. It's so convincing. It's like amazing. Yeah, that his acting was just brilliant in that movie. Alfred Molina was great. Like, all of them, I don't think there was anyone who was like a weak link. Like, whoever would have been a weak link, they didn't really put too much of, like Sandman or Lizard. They were like, oh, okay, buddies, calm down. Like, there were some more stupid stuff that happened in the movie, which all I'm talking about. Maybe some stuff I'll talk about this one, but part 2 will probably have a lot of those. I'm sorry, I had to cut and I don't remember what I talked about, so I'm just going to continue from, like, what I want to talk about. I was a little underwhelmed with the usage of Doctor Strange in this movie. I think it fit really good. I think it was okay. It didn't bother me too much, like, when you were watching it. Because the thing is, I feel like most complaints for this movie are nitpicking. Because with Eternals, I felt it, like, the most, like, obviously when you analyze a movie or when you rewatch it or when you think about it and talk about it more, it's important. But I think the 2 most important experiences are while you're watching it for the first time and after, like, right after the movie. Or, like, technically it can be show, but in this case I'm talking about a movie. So, Spider-Man, the same happened with Shang-Chi. Like, I barely find any. Even now, I barely find any nitpicks. I think it's amazing, but I can find more issues. But when I watched it, I was fascinated. I was like, wow. And after I watched it, I was just, oh my god, how good was that? Well, with Eternals, I was incredibly underwhelmed, incredibly, like, disappointed while watching the movie. And it obviously wasn't that terrible because I still enjoyed. Not really, no. But I didn't mind it. It was entertaining. And there were elements that were cool. And then after the movie, it was all went downhill. From the moment the movie ended, me and my friend that I went with, we started talking. And it was bulldozing. We started finding, not nitpicks, whole criticisms. Where with Spider-Man No Way Home, I know some people can find criticisms, and I know I have my fair share of nitpicks and stuff. I'm like, really? But most of them, like, I rewatched it once since. Like, I've already watched the movie twice. So, most of them came out a while after watching the movie, after reading articles, watching videos. Because obviously I know it sounds like I'm just taking all these from other people. But obviously if anybody watches creators, like content creators, like YouTubers, or even reads like articles and critics and opinions and reviews, they'll be affected in a way. And my opinion out of all the people I heard or read, and my people, like, personal, like my family, my friends, people I talked with, and myself, I did find criticism to the movie. But when I watched it but it all happened in the days after and in my rewatch. When I watched it for the first time, not one complaint. Like, maybe, like, a little, obviously, like, there are moments where I'm like, okay, but no complaint for the most part. I was like, wow. I was just, wow. It's just, I know I'm barely saying stuff, but this review. This review is more about how I felt about the movie, what I thought of the generals. I'm not talking about the plot. I'm not talking about the characters. I'm not talking about the music, the, like, effects. I may talk about a bit about that, but that's not the focus. Now it's to talk what I thought about it, how much I, like, yeah. So, this is one of the best MCU movies. I don't know if it's my top 10. Because the thing is, there are movies that deserve, like Shang-Chi. Here, this is what I feel bad. Like, it's hard for me to put Shang-Chi over Spider-Man No Way Home just because of the sheer size and geniosity. That's not probably what I'm word. If it is, then wow. But the genius of No Way Home. But in the same time, I feel like Shang-Chi deserves to be, like, better than, like, higher in my list, you could say, than No Way Home, because it has a better plot, better villain overall, and just, like, better, visuals, better music, better action. So, I don't know what to say. But I can't, you understand? So, it's hard for me to put Spider-Man No Way Home in a specific place without thinking about it for a long time. Whereas some stuff I can decide fairly easily. Not too easily, yeah, but fairly easily. No, I'm trying to think about more. The villain, all of the villains together was awesome to see. Like, it was awesome to see the interactions. I love, Alfred Molina. I'll just say the characters. Doc Ock was to Norman that you died, you was impaled by your own glider, and then Sam was like, you both died, or something like that, and then Electro talks, Lizard didn't die in the Amazing Spider-Man, but Electro talks about Lizard, I forget, about Lizard trying to turn everybody into lizards, so, it was really fun. Wait, Doctor Strange. I was a bit underwhelmed with him, but I was talking about the Doctor Strange, then I went to, a 2-minute monologue about how I feel and rewatching and thoughts and initial stuff and stuff like that, but whatever. So I'm going back to Strange. When I'm watching it, I don't mind. There wasn't one moment I said during the movie, I was like, oh, that's a bummer that he wasn't there for, the first 10 minutes or 10, 15 minutes. And the final, and the middle, 40 minutes. I'm not sure the exact numbers. Don't count me on this. Probably, 30 minutes, in the middle. No, maybe more. So that's the thing. I wasn't underwhelmed or I wasn't disappointed with Doctor Strange's role in the movie when I was watching it. And not even right after. One of my friends complained. I was like, I really didn't care. It didn't bother me too much. Some stuff could have bothered me. Matt Murdock. Obviously, it was a cameo. It was a tease. That's why, by the way, Vincent D'Onofrio, Fisk, that's why he disappointed me so much. Because that wasn't meant to be a tease. Obviously, it was meant to be, this event. That's why it wasn't a villain in the show for the whole thing. It was, only for the finale. It was, an event. But still, it wasn't a cameo. It wasn't a tease. It wasn't like Charlie Cox. No, Vincent D'Onofrio was there to be, the villain. Yet he was fairly underwhelming. Whereas Charlie Cox, while disappointing that he didn't have a bigger role, it's clear that it was meant to be just this little, you don't know what's coming. Which is awesome. But again, I would have been, that's something that I was disappointed in after watching the movie and while watching it. The whole movie I was hoping maybe it'll come back. It wouldn't have made too much sense, but a guy could hope. So yeah, I was really hoping for that. I was very happy the way they used Toby and Andrew. I thought it was great. Really, there was no complaint to how they handled Toby and Andrew. So yeah, Lizard, Sandman, they were a bit underwhelming, but it didn't bother me because there was these great ones. Doc Ock, he had a full character arc in this movie. Am I the only one who... No, I'm not. I know I'm not. I'm just, am I the only one who was not really shocked, more than, impressed with how much they did with him? I guess you could say shocked. I thought it was really good the way they used him. I think they used him more than Norman. Right, with Norman mode, but that was I'm saying this, but this is the role of them. Norman is there to create this hate and this tragedy for Peter. right? He's there to show Peter what it's like to lose someone and what it's like to have. Like, Norman's a crazy person. Not Norman. Green Goblin is a crazy person. Doc Ock isn't. Doc Ock, right? Like, it made more sense for him to be fixed rather than Norman. Norman, he just wasn't meant. It could have been. I think it was just great the way they used him. You know, I love the scene where he's like walking through the apartment and then he realizes it's Norman. Then he says, "Norman's on sabbatical, honey." Ugh, great. Like, you don't need. I love how they gave up the mask. And first of all, like, put the hood, would remind me of Hobgoblin a little. It's a Spider-Man villain. Anyway, so, because his face shows it all. Willem Dafoe's face. You don't need the stupid mask. His face is everything. No, it's not. You know what I mean. Come on. His face is just incredible. Like, you don't need the mask to make him frightening. You don't need the mask to make him crazy. You don't need the mask to make him the Green Goblin. No, you need Willem Dafoe for that. And he did it brilliantly. Now, Sandman, I'm glad they didn't use like Lizard too much, for example, because I feel like he wouldn't have had that great of a role anyway. He could have. Like, I think they used him perfectly, right? Obviously they cured him in the end. They added a bit more personality to him that he had in the Amazing Spider-Man, which is nice. It's not nice. It's like interesting. Like, yeah, it is. I guess it is nice. He had some funny quips. He had a stupid scene when he was in the truck. Who lets a giant lizard stay in an unguarded, probably not strong enough to hold him, truck? Who? Ugh. But I'll talk more about that in my nitpick review, in my detailed review. Who does that? But seriously, that's stupid. Like, it's not smart. Why would you do that? Anyway, Sandman. Now, I was disappointed with his role because, right, he was like a good guy in the end of Spider-Man 3. Why did he suddenly be such a jerk? Like, he was just a jerk. Like, I don't know. Like, Toby and him ended on great terms. Like, I understand why I wouldn't trust Tom or why you would be skeptical at some points. But Toby and him were on good terms in the end. Why did you just, like... I don't know. I really don't. Where was I? Oh. So, yeah, that was Norman's role. He was the opposing force, the thing that Peter had to be. Peter had to be the bigger man, and he had to learn how to deal with grief, and yeah, he had to learn how to help someone in need, even if he killed their aunt, his aunt. Like, I'm just meant in general terms. And Doc Ock, yeah, he had a full character arc. That was really impressive for me. I felt like they could have done more with Sandman. Now, Electro, he had a perfect role. He didn't have too many personality changes or too many, like, incredible acting moments. But he was, like, other than Norman, he was probably the main villain, right? Sandman and Lizard were villains, but they weren't really that important. They weren't, like, main villains. While Electro was just really important. It was really critical for the story. So I really liked that. Trying to think. So, yeah, I really like that about Electro. He was just, like, the bad guy. Like, sure, none of them had, by the way, did you notice how many scientists there are? Like, Max wasn't a scientist, but he worked in, like, a science company or, like, a tech, he was, like, a tech guy, I'm pretty sure. Like, that's what I think. And Connor's, like, the Lizard, doctor. Doc Ock, doctor. Norman, the Green Goblin, doctor. They're all doctors. How have I never noticed this before? Well, maybe that's because all the non-Doctor Spider-Man villains are barely there. Like, Venom, Oh, wait, so the post-credit scene. I felt like there was a real let down what they did with Venom. Like it was a real again, like I use the word a few times because it happens in this movie. Whether like the Venom thing, for example, that was on first watch and on initial reaction. It wasn't on like later reaction or rewatch. No, that was in the initial reaction and the actual like the first watch. That was really underwhelming with Venom. Like they gave him just to take him back. Obviously, they left a symbiote. But what does this mean about Tom Hardy's Venom? Like, is he gonna be gone? Because I'm sure he's gonna come back somehow. Yeah, so I don't know. Hmm. Yeah, I really don't know. What else? What else? What else? So I am wondering about what's the connection between Charlie Cox and like with whether there is a connection between Daredevil and Kingpin in this world. Like I'm not sure whether it's the same Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock as it is in the Daredevil show. I didn't finish Daredevil show, so I don't know like how it ends. I don't know what happens, so I technically can't tell. Maybe it is, and everybody but me knows. I'm trying to think. What else happens? Happy is great in this movie. He's both used as like a laughing matter, someone you're just joking at, but he's also used sometimes as an actual human being with feelings and not just the punchline of a joke. Right, there's the final scene, the heartbreaking final scene in the graveyard where he sees Peter and they talk and like, how'd you know her? Through Spider-Man. That was a painful scene. It was like, oh, so now maybe I should talk. Wait, first of all, MJ and Ned are both great. All the villains are really fun. Peter, Andrew, Peter, Andrew, Toby, Andrew, and Tom are all great together. Tom is actually phenomenal in this movie. The visual effects are really good. Everything honestly was really well done. And it like gained so much money right up until now. It already passed the $1 billion mark, I think. Where was I? Trying to remember. Is it like some what was I about to say? So the ending. The ending was heartbreaking. It was heart-wrenching. So it was like a depressing ending. Like this whole movie was an epic hype, excitement, love letter to Spider-Man. Right after I came out, I was like, that was the most depressing ending I've seen. It was just, I was just bummed out. Like, because when you're watching it, you're like, oh, that's so smart of them. Oh, that's like the origin story. But then you think about it, I'm like, am I, like, that's it. It's over. Like, nobody like, his relationship, over. His family, he has no one and nothing. I don't know how he was able to afford that house if he has no, like, if nobody remembers, if he doesn't exist, technically. Like, because the thing is, the spell, how does it work exactly? Because, obviously, like, the thing is, like, you're like, wait, but what about all the news and the newspapers and the news? No. And, like, the pictures, the articles, everything about him that was gone. And I'm like, yeah, like, when I think about it, yeah, it's just gone. There's no, like, that's the explanation. But then, what about everything else? Like, does that mean, can Doctor Strange just made it, like, the stuff, like, the recent stuff, or, like, is literally, like, does he have an ID? Does he? Does he have, like, credit cards? Does he have passport? Does he have anything that, like, does he have any files, like, with the government? No? Just gone? He doesn't, how did he buy a house? I mean, probably cash, but, like, or did he create, like, some, but how can he just create How can you give a credit card if, first of all, the money maybe he got it from, like, Tony, but how? Nobody knew he existed. So Tony didn't know he existed. It also shows how did they beat Thanos. Because Peter, he didn't play a massive role. Like, obviously, they probably would have just still got snapped in Infinity War, but in Endgame, Peter had the glove for a while. Like, the glove. No, the gauntlet. Peter had the gauntlet for a while. What does that mean about that? Anyway, that it does raise questions, but it's also extremely sad. Like, and I was like, even though I get it, like, it's like, right, it's like the Spider-Man, it's the Spider-Man origin. But I wasn't, even though I know MJ can get her, like, he's protecting her, that's like how all Spider-Men were. Like, that's just what they need to do, even if it hurts. But am I the only one who didn't want him to do that, even though all those reasons? I did not want him to not tell her. Yeah. Overall, the movie, I think, is tonally very good. Like, I don't feel like, even if the tone changes from humorous to dramatic to epic to, like, action to creepy, like, well, there wasn't much creepy. Like, to romantic, well, there wasn't much romance. Never mind. Now, there was creepy. The scene with Norman, like, most scenes with the Green Goblin were creepy, but, like, the scene where they fought Peter and Green Goblin for the first time, not only was it brutal, it was also, like, creepy. Like, it was very violent, like, for an MCU project. Anyway, so, even though it did jump tones and themes, no, the themes stayed the same. Like, every person's arc and the story arc stayed the same, but the tones, they did change, but the writers did a good job. Like, they didn't make it feel, like, weird or unnatural. Felt like everybody did a good job, and it was produced good, written good, directed good, but not some phenomenon. Like, the thing is, Marvel, this is my it's not a criticism. It's just the way like, with Shang-Chi, they made this movie, like, they used this movie to be, they got this movie to be good with the power of martial arts and good choreography and great visuals and endearing, like, not endearing, I forgot the word. Whatever. A good villain. I'll just say good. In Spider-Man, for example, it used the power of nostalgia. It used the power of hope that they'll show up. It used the power of excitement and hype. That's what Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, that's what it did. It used the power, well, not nostalgia, but in this case, in Spider-Man No Way Home, definitely, it used the power of nostalgia and hype to make it good and popular. If it didn't have the Spider-Man in it, or, like, if the power of nostalgia wasn't there, if, like, all those cool, like, those cheer-worthy elements, those elements that make you cheer, that every audience will cheer, are what makes this movie so amazing. So it's not amazing, yet amazing at the same time. I just never, I don't think I'll ever be able to decide whether it's amazing or not. I just can't. I can't decide whether it's amazing or not. We'll get in more to depth about points in the story and points in character arcs in the next video. We'll do rankings, we'll do all kinds of Spider-Man content soon, and I'll see you all again next time. Like, subscribe, and comment. Check out other videos, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye!